Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you another installment in my audiobook series. I told you there was a lot to cover. So today I'm going to be going over what it's like to work with a voice actor or narrator. I've had two experiences working with voice actors so far. They were both very different. So I'm going to give you the full history of how I was able to connect with these voice actors, what they were able to do, and what the process was, and some tips moving forward if you've decided to work with a voice actor for your audiobook. In 2016, as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, I was starting to think about how can I get my existing books out in more formats to increase sales in between the time when I am writing my next book. Because at the time I was working full-time day job. I could only really produce one book a year, if that. So I was like, okay, I have these books that are out. How can they work harder for me? So my thought was to do audiobooks. Out of the sky, out of nowhere. So one of my good friends that I've had in Florida for the past 5-6 years, she is a professional actor. So she has worked at all the theme parks here, singing, dancing. She is in local theater. She loves theater, she loves acting, she loves performing. That is her life, and she has dedicated her life to it. The thing about working in theme parks in Florida is that it's hot. It's hot all the time. I'm recording this now and it's almost November and it's 90-something degrees out. So she's, getting older, and she's like, I don't want to be outside all the time, all day. And she realized that she could use all of her skills and talents with doing audiobooks as a way to supplement her income in between gigs, because sometimes shows end their runs at theme parks, or there's a break between work that she would have. And she really thought audiobooks would be a way to supplement that income and use her skills and talents. So she reached out to me and said, hey, could I do the audiobook for your latest book, which is The Games You Cannot Win. It was a collection of short stories. This was almost like it just fell out of the sky, because I was thinking about doing this. And I said, of course you can do the audiobook. And she's like, this is my first time. I've never done one before, so it might be a little rough. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I honestly have nothing to lose. I'm thinking about doing this. If she does a great job, that's awesome for me. This is a professional actor who is doing my audiobook, who will then give it, this great sound quality to it. And if it doesn't work out, then I've lost nothing. I put nothing into it. She was coming to me asking for permission to record my book, which worked out great for both of us. So I'll fast forward to the end, but now she has made a career of doing audiobooks. So she has told me that doing my audiobook was the toughest for her, because it was the first, but it was almost like going through a college course in how to do audiobooks, because she had to research so much. So now she is full-time doing audiobooks. She has enough to have a full-time income from doing those. I know a lot of people will say that if you have a friend who's a creative entrepreneur or a designer or does something creatively, that you shouldn't be asking for freebies. I absolutely agree with that. But in this case, this worked out really well for both of us. It was a stepping stone for me to get my books out in a new medium. It was a stepping stone for her to launch her audiobook narration career. It was a win-win. It worked out really well. Now I will say, because this was her first audiobook, there were a few times the files were sent over and I was like, hey, caught this edit. So it was a bit more time intensive, but at the same time, I knew that going in, and it was absolutely worth it for me to be able to have a great produced quality audiobook for my collection of short stories. So that worked out really well. So the second book that I did an audiobook with is Enemies of Peace. So I had another good friend who's Jonathan on the Choosify podcast that I'm now on. So his wife has a beautiful voice. She's from Zimbabwe. She just has the most beautiful accent. And so she knew that she wanted to get into doing audiobooks. She had already done one at the time that I talked to Jonathan about if Danny would be willing to do the audiobook for Enemies of Peace. Now this worked out for me on multiple occasions, because Enemies of Peace, I call it FI, financial independence fiction, for that subculture that I'm a part of. It's all about personal finance and financial independence. So Jonathan, who's on the Choose FI podcast, talks all about that all the time. So knowing that Jonathan would have a reason to want to promote his wife narrating it, that it's related to the content, I was like, this is going to be a triple win if she has the time and availability to do this audiobook. And thankfully she did. So Jonathan was saying, hey, can Danny do that audiobook? She wants to, get a few more under her belt. And I said, absolutely, she can do this. So this worked out really well. Now her accent was perfect for this book. So somebody who left a review of the book said that when they read it, with a paperback copy, that they had a very lemony Snicket feel to it, and her accent was just so perfect for it, to give it that right attitude. So it just worked out really well. But because Jonathan is an audiophile and is on the podcast, they already had this great audio equipment. They had a great audio setup. So I knew that the quality was going to be good. So again, that happens to work out that I have really talented friends who want to get into doing audiobooks. That's just part of my author network. I didn't go out and intentionally become friends with somebody because I thought they could help me in my business. I became friends with somebody because I became friends with them. It just so happened that they could provide this really great service of doing the audiobook, which is something I wasn't even thinking of doing when I first met either of these people. So it was really great. Both of my experiences working with voice actors went really well, and I think I'm just really lucky to have talented friends who are easy to work with and are driven and want to put out a good quality product. I have heard from other authors and even voice actors that sometimes these collaborations can be tricky because there are maybe misaligned expectations. There's one person is trying to be maybe a little stingy on the pay because they're feeling strapped, whatever the reason is. So I would say the key to working with a voice actor for your audiobook is going to be the same key to working with anybody doing anything in your business, and that's communicate, communicate, communicate. I let them know when I was going to be hard to reach for a certain period of time. They did the same for me. So when I was getting chapters on a regular basis from Danny for Enemies of Peace, and she knew she wasn't going to be able to produce some for a few weeks because she had an infant at the time and they were going to be taking a trip for the holidays, I said, okay, that's good to know. Thanks for the update. Again, because these were released after the print and ebook versions were released, I wasn't in some crazy time crunch like it has to be out by this day. And I think that also helped to kind of put the pressure off for both of us. But at the same time, both Lisa, who narrated The Games You Cannot Win, and Danny, who narrated Enemies of Peace, they wanted a deadline to work to. They didn't want this to go on forever. That's all about the communication that you need to have with this other creative professional that you're working on for your audiobook if you choose to go the route of hiring a narrator. So I hope that you are feeling pretty confident as you're getting ready to create your audiobook with a narrator. I hope you found this really helpful. If you have, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe below. When you hit subscribe, you'll get notified every time I drop new videos about audiobooks or anything else for self-published authors. And it also helps YouTube to know that you're getting value from this channel and the videos I'm producing, so that way they can put it in front of other authors like us. I hope you found this helpful and that you have a great rest of your day, and now you can get back to writing or having somebody narrate your book.